Get ready, racing fans. The most electrifying week in motorsports is back. October 6th to 11th, Oswego Speedway transforms into the Clay Palace, the ultimate battleground for Super Dirt Week. From the thrilling races to the electrifying atmosphere, it's more than a race. It's racing's biggest party. Don't miss out. Super Dirt Week 2025, October 6th through the 11th.
Syracuse drops 2 in a row for the first time in the Fran Brown era. A trip to Dallas comes up disappointing for the Orange. 31-18 the final score as SMU takes down Syracuse. Back-to-back losses for the Cuse. Last week in the Dome against Duke. This week in Dallas against Rhett Lashley and the SMU Mustangs. Giovanni Heater with you as we unpack it all right here on Cuse Sports Talk and ESPN Syracuse. Phone lines are going to be open throughout the entirety of our post-game show. Give us a ring. 315-437-7644 is the number to call. One more time, 315-437-7644. A disappointing one for Syracuse, to put it plain and simple. And this is a game in which, with the backdoor cover at the end, is a lot closer on the scoreboard than it felt throughout the majority of the game. SMU dominated from the opening snap till the end of the ball game. They were in complete control down in Dallas from start to finish, and it felt like throughout most of this game, Syracuse never really had a chance. Trailed 24-3 at the halftime break, trailed 24-0 at one point, and left offensive opportunities galore on the board. It all started with the opening drive for Syracuse. The wheels were moving. Everything was churning in the right direction, and you felt, hey, this is exactly how they started at Clemson. A poised, confident, punch-him-in-the-face kind of drive to open up the ball game. The difference was in Death Valley, it resulted in a Syracuse touchdown, and Justice Ross Simmons was on ESPN's You Got Moss the next day. In Dallas, Syracuse went for it on the goal line, 4th down and half a yard, and didn't punch it in. And they never scored a touchdown until late in the fourth quarter after that. So Syracuse, again, 31-18, the final score. A disappointing performance down in Dallas. Let's go ahead and take a look at the box score and peek at some of the numbers. Somehow, and I don't exactly know how, Syracuse actually outgained SMU in this game. 389 yards for Syracuse of offense to SMU's 370. They also outrushed SMU in this game, 110 yards on the ground to SMU's 76. Again, you look at that, you watch this game, and you ask yourself, how does that happen? Another scenario where a box score can be incredibly deceiving to how the game truly plays out when you watch it with your eyes. So fascinating stuff when you peek at the box score here. SMU barely outpassed Syracuse in this game, 294 to Syracuse's 279. The completion percentage is where there was a stark contrast, and I mean a stark contrast. How about Kevin Jennings going 30 of 36 in this game through the air? That's as efficient as it can possibly get when you throw the ball that many times. He was 83% throwing the ball. Syracuse and Ricky Collins on the other side, 22 of 45 through the air. That's good for 49%. Sub 50% for Syracuse. Not great, right? SMU took advantage of Syracuse opportunities, right? You look at interceptions and fumbles lost in this game. Syracuse didn't lose any fumbles, but they did fumble the ball once. SMU also fumbled the ball once and didn't lose it. But then you look at passing the ball and the interception number for Syracuse, and that's where things definitely looked a little bit different. Ricky Collins throws 3 interceptions in this game to 1 touchdown. On the other side, Jennings, for the most part, took care of the ball. 4 touchdowns to 1 interception. Again, looking at that stark contrast, if you will. Receiving-wise for Syracuse, Jonte Cook was kind of the guy. 7 catches, 82 yards, had the touchdown as they're trying to claw back into it. Dan Villari had 5 catches, 61 yards. Will Nixon had 3 catches out of the backfield for 25 yards. Justice Ross Simmons gets hurt in this game. Exits stage left, does not re-enter, was on crutches. 2 catches for 58 yards, had the long of 52. Emmanuel Ross, 2 catches, 28 yards. Darrell Gill, kind of a non-factor, a catch for 13 yards. And then Hornsby with a catch for 12 yards. SMU on the other side, Jennings was awesome, had mentioned that. And then you look at the rest of their team, Harden on the ground, 16 carries, 66 yards, averaging 4.1 yards a carry. And then their receiving room, Brinson had 7 catches, 71 yards, a long of 20. Hudson had 6 catches for 47 yards. Hibner had 5 catches for 55 yards. Knight had 5 catches for 41 yards. Maryland, 3 catches for 40 yards. Guys, they had 6 guys with multiple catches in this game. That was kind of an everybody eats approach from SMU, which we knew was one of the top passing offenses in the ACC, if not the country. And they showed that because there wasn't one guy doing it all. They spread the wealth. They spread the ball. You had 4 different guys catch a touchdown in this game for SMU. Just fascinating how the box score doesn't do great justice to how this game truly played out. You take a look at the drive chart for Syracuse in this game. You acquire it on a punt because you get a stop. SMU had the ball first. Turnover on downs again. You had that on the goal line. Couldn't punch it in. 12-play, 41-yard drive. You come up empty from it. Syracuse after that throws an interception on the next drive. They then punt. Then back-to-back turnover on downs. Again, Syracuse kept going for it on 4th down. They were rolling the dice. And Paulie, if you watched our watch party, didn't like the rolling of the dice. I thought it was the right call. I'm also like an aggressive mindset with that. But it just felt like Syracuse's defense had been so porous, not only in this game, but last week against Duke and pretty much most of the year, that you actually felt better just keeping the offense out there and trying to get the first down. It resulted in SMU getting pretty good field position at times because Syracuse could not convert. Nevertheless, they had 3 turnover on downs in their first 5 drives of the game. That made a big difference in this. Syracuse kicks a field goal. That was on their 6th drive of the game. Then they go punt, 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 touchdown, interception, touchdown, interception, and that was all she wrote for Syracuse. So, again, just not taking care of the ball, right? Hard to win a game when you turn it over with 3 interceptions, and then on top of it you have 3 turnover on downs. That's essentially 6 turnovers. Turnover on downs might as well be a turnover, right? 6 turnovers. It's hard to climb your way out of that hole, and that's why Syracuse found themselves in such a hole really so early. Looking at some of the defensive numbers for Syracuse, 1 sack, just didn't get after the quarterback. In passing protection, according to Pro Football Focus, coming into this game, SMU had the best-rated offensive line in the country. They weren't giving up sacks. Syracuse only got home once. It was Tremble who had that sack, and it was a pretty long one, too. Sack ended up being for, I want to say, like 10 or more yards. Tremble got in the backfield, got busy, but other than that, Jennings was pretty comfortable. He does a nice job of evading, extending plays, what have you. 8 tackles for loss, though, for Syracuse. I think that's something you can point at and feel okay about. 8 tackles for loss is not a bad number. SMU, though, on the other side, 2 sacks for them, 5 tackles for loss. Again, it's the 3 interceptions. They were busy in the secondary, 7 pass breakups. Syracuse only amassed 2 pass breakups. It just was lopsided from the get-go, and it really all started when you couldn't punch it in on that opening drive. We even said, like, SMU's going to miss a kick here. They came into the game 2 for 6 on field goals. They missed a field goal. They gave Syracuse opportunities to be in this game, and that's just Syracuse couldn't take advantage, right? And got down so quickly you blinked, and it was 24-3 at the halftime break. Give us a call. Let's talk about it. Free reign. Air your grievances. This is an open book. This can be your outlet. So give us a ring. 315-437-7644 is the number to call. We'll step aside and take a break as we continue to break down Syracuse's loss on the road in Dallas to SMU after this. You're listening to Cuse Sports Talk and ESPN Syracuse. Let's go. I love it. We got a caller. I was hoping, bro, because I just emptied the tank. I don't know what else to talk about. Yeah, no, you're not wrong. The Duke game got a lot of callers, like a lot of callers. We had like an hour and a half show just because people kept calling, and we were like, we're not going to turn them away, I guess, you know? If you have any ideas of things to talk about that stood out to you, let me know. It's almost like, usually I like take deep notes and stuff. It's kind of hard to do that while you're doing the watch party, so I didn't. So if you have any ideas, shout. I think a little bit of both. Right. Yeah, I 100% agree. It's crazy that they basically turned it over 6 times. And I actually, every time they went for it, I was under the mindset that I agreed with the choice to go for it. You just need to capitalize. Right. Right. Right, exactly. Can I steal that? I'm gonna give you credit though. That's like such a selfless approach and not enough. Like, that's actually how, like, I've been told that producers are supposed to be, though. Like, TV producers and stuff. But it's not easy for people to do that. I'm still going to give you credit, though. It's your idea. But that means you're gonna make a great producer, Jordan. Don't give up on the dream yet, bro. You just got to pay the bills. That's all. Sweet. You said it's Mike in Virginia, right? Yep. Glad I asked. Thomas. Not even close to Mike. Just a little off there. Thomas. Lit. Another tough one for Syracuse football as they drop back-to-back games for the first time in the Fran Brown era. 31-18, the final score down in Dallas. Syracuse falls to SMU. Went down there, felt like a big pivotal game for this Syracuse football program to turn around and prove something after collapsing in the Dome a little bit last week against Duke, and just kind of were out of this thing before they ever had an opportunity to get their footing. Had an impressive opening drive, went down, got to the goal line, couldn't punch it in on fourth down. You essentially turned the ball over 6 times in this game because of the 3 turnover on downs and then the 3 actual turnovers with interceptions. And despite all that, somehow found a way to make it interesting at the end, but nevertheless, Syracuse comes up way short, 31-18, the final score down in Big D. Let's go to those phone lines. Of course, give us a ring. 315-437-7644 is the number to call if you want to chime in and chat. But we got our man Thomas down in Virginia. Thomas, how you doing? Break it all down. The floor is yours, my friend.
This point. Also, do you want to add Go Hokies and Go 3304 Sports?
Yo, Thomas, appreciate you giving a ring, man. Yeah, Go Hokies. I am an alum, so I'll chime in with you on that one, no question. And Go 3304 Sports. Wouldn't be sitting in this chair without that. So, Thomas, appreciate the ring, man. Great question. And it's a tough answer, right? Because coming into this game, we said, what does improvement look like for quarterback Ricky Collins? What could we stamp it on and be like, okay, we saw him get better from last week against Duke to this week? And I don't think we saw it. Particularly in that first half, I really don't think we saw it. I felt like Ricky Collins did a lot of what he did last week in the sense that, 1, looked very uncomfortable, and 2, never looked anybody off. It was snap the ball, first read, I'm going there. And that was super, super evident when they turned it over, backed up at their own 20-yard line. He throws an interception because he, boom, snaps the ball, first read, throws it, trying to find Dan Villari. There's 3 dudes there, and the linebacker picks it off. Now, luckily, the defense held them to 3 points, and Syracuse stayed afloat for a second there, but that was just one instance. So many times throughout the game, I just felt like he was throwing it to no man's land or throwing it into double coverage or just throwing it somewhere that the ball's, 1, in a lot of danger, and 2, why are you going there anyways? He just never looked comfortable. And I don't know if that's more to do with the offensive line. I don't know if that's to do with the receivers and the communication not being there. I don't know if that's to do with the coaches not fully propping him up for success. But it never felt like he got the opportunity to be comfortable. Now, he put some throws together and made some plays late in the game. SMU, those kind of like backing off in a way. And I don't know how much you can dig into that and find positive because of how poor the rest of the game went for Ricky Collins. I mean, again, you go back to the numbers and you break down some of the numbers here. Ricky Collins ends up going 22 of 45. Now, I know he threw it for 279 yards, but a touchdown to 3 picks and a completion percentage of 49%. So his touchdown to interception ratio right now is 1 touchdown to 4 picks if you incorporate last week when he threw the pick against Duke and didn't account for a touchdown. So not a good spot to be in if you're Ricky. I don't think he got better this week. I know he put some stuff together down the stretch of that fourth quarter to make things a little bit more interesting. And I think I'll say this, though. The grass is not necessarily greener. You know, everyone on Twitter, everyone in our chat comment section chiming in saying, hey, it's time to look at Luke Carney. Hey, it's time to look at what else you have in that quarterback room. And what I'll caution you is that I don't think the grass is always greener. And you also don't want to just thrust these freshmen into a position where you're not propping them up for success either. Like, you lost Steve. This is what you got. You kind of have to play with it. And as unfortunate as that sounds, to answer the rest of Thomas's question, you know, what's the outlook for the rest of the 2025 season? You have a bye week, but I think the narrative changed a lot. I really do, the last 2 weeks, because you left that Clemson game feeling like you were on cloud 9 if you were a Syracuse football fan. At that point, you're 3-1. You just went to Death Valley, beat Clemson for the first time in program history, who, by the way, today looked themselves. I get they were playing North Carolina. Totally understand that. But they looked themselves against a poor football team and put up a lot of points and looked like Clemson again for a week. But you were on cloud nine if you're a Syracuse fan after that Clemson game, and now you've reached a low that you hadn't reached under Fran Brown. I mean, people have been saying this feels like Dino, this feels like Greg Robinson, this feels like an era of Syracuse football that we thought we had moved past and moved on from. And you kind of revert back to that. And the thing I'll say to defend Ricky in a way is I don't know that Steve was saving the day in these situations. I think there are other issues. The special teams last week was poor. Special teams this week wasn't great. The defense, really porous in both games against Duke and against SMU. That's not all on Ricky. I do think that Steve would have given you a better chance to win. I do think that Steve would have converted on a bunch of those fourth downs. Steve's a much more accurate passer. Ricky missed a couple of guys. I don't think Steve would have turned the ball over 3 times and had a touchdown to interception ratio of 1-4 in the last 2 weeks combined. So I do think Steve gives you a better chance to win. But Steve's not coming back. Steve's hurt, 1. And 2, I don't think that the quarterback has been the only problem. So the outlook on the rest of the year, I think it's going to be a hard push to get to a 6th win. You look down the rest of the schedule. So I don't know that Syracuse is going to be favored again, except maybe Boston College, maybe BC. I don't know that Syracuse will be favored in North Carolina. They should be favored at home against North Carolina. You got the bye week, and then you got Pitt. That's in the Dome, October 18th. Tough game. They just lit up Boston College. They were up 48-0. I don't know what the final score was off the top of my head, but they were up 48-0. Then you go to Georgia Tech. They're the 17th ranked team in the country. They're playing awesome. If Haynes King is healthy, I just don't see how you, unless you see really big improvement, I don't see how you slow them down. You got Halloween against North Carolina in the Dome. I think that's winnable. So right now they have 3 wins. They're 3-3. That would put you at 4 and say you lost to Pitt, still a winnable game. Say you lost to Pitt, lost to Georgia Tech. That would put you at 3-5. Beat North Carolina, 4-5. Lose to Miami, 4-6. Lose to Notre Dame, 4-7. No, my math is all messed up. Yeah, 5-7. You beat Boston College, it'd be 5-7. I think it's going to be hard to get to a 6th win. You have to beat Pitt or pull off an upset. I think the only games you'll be favored in against are North Carolina and Boston College, if those 2. You don't know how the rest of the year is going to play out. A lot more to unpack. Great questions, Thomas. We'll take a break here. Give us a call. 315-437-7644 is the number. Syracuse falls on the road against SMU. 31-18, the final score. This is Cuse Sports Talk and ESPN Syracuse.
This is Orange Nation.
This might be one.
Oh, good call. Good shout. I literally copied the tweet. Oh, wait. Did I say anything about Fran? Oh, word. Good edit. Word. My boys in Virginia calling. I actually thought we had real callers. Turns out it was the students that are still at Virginia Tech. Turns out it was still the students at Virginia Tech. I do appreciate you guys calling. You guys are doing a great job down there. The Young Bucks. The Young Bucks in Blacksburg. The chat. Gavendo said, "What happened?" And Jordan said, "We won." Yeah, I feel you, Phillies Most Wanted. I agree. It's gonna be like I said, I think pretty hard to get to a 6th win at this point, unless some stuff really changes. Wow, it's 7:30 and it's pitch black outside. Virginia won at the buzzer, I believe. How about that? Oh, they won in overtime. Called that. Why is Virginia going to play in the ACC championship game? What is happening? What happened to the league that I love? We got any callers, Jordan? All right. I'll think about it. I'll think of something. Broke down the box score. All right. I'm going to talk about the narrative.
Watch your favorite ESPN Syracuse sports talk shows on CuseSportsTalk.com. This is the Burdick Ford, Burdick Toyota, Burdick Lexus, and Burdick BMW postgame show with Giovanni Heater.
31-18, the final score in Dallas. SMU takes it to Syracuse in a game that really felt like it was not as close as the scoreboard would indicate. A late touchdown with a backdoor cover for the Cuse, for those that matters to. Nevertheless, SMU really does hand it to Syracuse. For the second week in a row, Syracuse loses big against a conference opponent. And the Orange really stumbling here without Steve Angeli at quarterback. Now 3-3 on the year, 1-2 in conference play, and 1-2 away from the Dome as well. Well, give us a ring. Feel free to air out your grievances. This is a safe space, right? If you're a Syracuse fan that wants to rant about it, 315-437-7644 is the number to call. But for now, we have a topic of conversation brought up by our awesome producer behind the scenes back in the studio, Jordan Capozzi. And he brought up a really good point. What is the narrative on this Syracuse football team right now, where they sit 3-3, 1-2 on the year? I think it's easy to say that they're struggling and they haven't been a very good football team lately. I think it's also easy to look at it from an outside view, those that are not close to the program, not closely watching, national or just ACC-wide perspective, and look at Syracuse and say, oh, poor Syracuse, they lost Steve Angeli, and of course the season's going to unravel because they lost Steve, who was leading the nation in passing, and that's a bummer. And Fran's a great coach, and they're going to be just fine, back and better than ever next year, right? And yeah, I think Steve plays a big factor into this recipe because I think Ricky is struggling. And it's hard to fully blame Ricky. You have to remember, people, that this guy was making his first collegiate start last week in the Dome against Duke. It doesn't happen overnight. I think he's got a long way to go, but it doesn't happen overnight. The expectations were almost unfair for him to come in and cook right away, right? You have to remember, though, Steve, the amount of experience he had was significantly less. One, sometimes it does click for some people quicker than others. Two, he took really meaningful snaps when he did get in the game. Ricky essentially never got to play. I think he attempted, I want to say it was 10 total passes in his collegiate career. Could be wrong, but it was something around that number. It was 10 or less, I believe. I do not think it was over 10 for Ricky Collins. No, Steve played significant snaps, right? He came into a college football playoff game, went on a drive that scored a touchdown against Penn State in the college football playoff. Like, Steve had seen some things. And I know it's a small sample size, but it's something, right? And you also don't know what the setup was like down in South Bend. Could have been more of a quarterback battle or committee, if you will, at Notre Dame. Like, Riley Leonard wasn't a world beater, if you want to look at it like that. Whereas Ricky Collins, and every program's run differently, he very well could have just been essentially running the scout team at LSU. Don't know it for a fact, but you had Garrett Nussmeier, who was a great quarterback, and before that you had Jaden Daniels, who won the Heisman and just went to the NFC Championship in the NFL, was the number 2 overall pick. Safe to say Ricky wasn't touching the field there, and I don't even know if they ever gave him a sniff, right, or a look to have the opportunity to do so. So you never know what situations they come from. That being said, Ricky's got a long way to go. But when you dig deeper into this, it's so much more than the quarterback. You look at Syracuse on defense and what they've allowed so far this season. They allowed 45 points to Tennessee. They allowed 20 points to UConn. They allowed 24 points to Colgate. I know a lot of the second stringers came in, and that's who scored a lot of those points. 21 to Clemson, okay. 38 to Duke, and 31 to SMU. That's 30 or more points coughed up in 3 of 6 games this year. So that's not a good spot to be in defensively if you're Syracuse. It's just not. And you want to dig a little bit deeper into some of the defensive numbers heading into this week for the Orange and how they truly stack up in some of their statistical rankings. And it's also not in a great spot. Total defense, 124th in the country, allowing 464 yards a game. Rushing defense, 108th in the country. Passing defense, 130th in the country. Team passing defensive efficiency, 74th in the country. Scoring defense, 110th in the country. Averaging, again, 29.6 points a game. You round up, they're averaging an allowance of 30 points a game, right? Turnover margin, tied for 108th in the country. So they don't take care of it, and they don't take it away enough, right? Teams converting on third down, 87th in the country. Teams converting on fourth down, they're a little bit better. They're tied for 19th. How often are teams going for it on fourth down if they're converting on third down, though, right? All things that you have to look at. Red zone defense, tied 84th in the country. Like, the defense has not been good. Hard to win games when the defense has not been where you'd like it to be. So what is the narrative on this team now going forward? The interesting point that our producer Jordan brought up is the fact that Fran Brown does not really have control of that narrative right now, because he's going to talk to the media post-game, probably happening as we speak. You don't know how many people are going to be fully locked in on that, especially after a loss like that, and people go about their Saturday, man. Like, Florida State's about to play Miami. A lot of people are going to watch that. Other people are going to go hang out with their friends and do whatever. People kind of go on with their Saturday, especially when the scoreboard looks like what it looks like, 24-3 at halftime. I don't know how many Cuse fans watch the entire game. And then because it's a bye week, Fran's not going to talk to the media on Monday. And the availability just kind of disappears for the week because of the bye week. And it's a much-deserved bye week. Syracuse played 6 games in a row. Not a lot of schools play 6 games off the rip like that. I mean, they're halfway through the schedule, which is crazy. They played 6 straight, and then, boom, you only get 12, all right? Halfway through the schedule. But Fran's not going to really be able to spin it in the press conference whatever way he'd like to spin it. And I think that's a fascinating point that Jordan brought up, because the media really is going to drive this narrative. And if you watch the game, it was not nearly as close as the scoreboard would indicate, 31 21-18 the final score. It never really felt like that. All of a sudden, Paulie and I were sitting here like, how are they in this? How are they having a shot at this thing right now? Because it was 3-0 SMU, 10-0 SMU, 17-0 SMU, 24-0 SMU, 24-3, 31-3, 31-10, 31-12 because the safety. That's where you felt like 31-10 because they were going to score, it looked like. Then they throw the pick. Ricky throws the pick, and then you get the safety, and you're like, okay, there's still a shot. Then 31-18, right? You don't get the onside kick, which did have a nice bounce. Was put into play the way you'd want it to be in play. But just didn't. The cards weren't in it for Syracuse. So just curious to see how the media pushes the narrative of Syracuse football through the bye week and then throughout the rest of the season. Last chance to give us a call on the other end as we wrap up our post-game coverage for Syracuse's loss at SMU. 31-18, the final score. 315-437-7644 is the number. You're listening to Cuse Sports Talk and ESPN Syracuse.
This is Orange Nation.
This might be one of the greatest one-hit wonders.
Okay. What's up, guys? What you guys up to? Did you guys have a game today or something? I see the football pants. Both of you? You tied? I heard. Against Clay, right? Nice. Very nice. It's on the internet and on the radio. Yeah. What position you guys play? What about you? Nice.
Is this YouTube?
Nice. Yeah. Yep.
How many subscribers do you have?
How many subscribers do we have? Good question. Let's see.
I'm in the interview. What's up, guys?
2.52 thousand subscribers.
Wow. Can you tell them to subscribe to my YouTube channel? I only have 62 subscribers.
All right, I'll let them know. What kind of videos do you do?
I just do random.
Yeah?
What do you do? Random. Let me see. What happened to your partner?
He left.
Is he a lame-o?
Nah, he's not lame. He's the man.
This is his YouTube channel. James Cook. I went to the Bills game and I saw
James Cook. Love James Cook.
I just did.
Go Bills.
I went to the game. Bro, no wonder you only have 62 subscribers, bro. It's circle A and then J-A, James Cook, and then one more.
Okay. All right. I got you. I'll look it up. Let's see. What is it?
J-A-M-E-S.
Jordan,
Yep.
just make sure you give us a 30 so we have a chance to clear the area.
Sweet. Right here?
Yeah.
All right. I'll subscribe.
Oh, can you tell your,
Oh, great.
can you tell the people?
I'll let him know.
Okay.
All right, cool. All right, boys, I got to give you the boot. We're coming back from the break.
Okay.
All right, have fun, boys. Congrats on the tie. What? I'm scared. Is he going to yell at me? Is he going to, did I say something mean? I'll let him run. I'll tell him I think his nephew's a baller. At least when he doesn't fumble 3 times against Duke. I won't say that to him, of course. Wait, so what are the callers? I gotta write this down. Oh, wow. Okay, this is crazy. I don't think I know a Rob in Connecticut or a David Cook in Dallas, so this should not be any of my homies. Anytime I see Virginia pop up, I'm like, this is definitely. Florida guy said buy some Girl Scout cookies. Oh, wow, okay. So we're going to have a packed final segment. Got it. Yep.
This is the Burdick Ford, Burdick Toyota, Burdick Lexus, and Burdick BMW postgame show with Giovanni Heater.
Final segment of postgame coverage for Syracuse and SMU down in Dallas, 31-18. The final score as SMU takes down Syracuse, hands the Orange its second consecutive loss for the first time of the Fran Brown era. Giovanni Heater with you, unpacking it all. Today's show presented to you, as always, by Point Guard Advisors and Charles Heating, Air Conditioning, Plumbing, and Electrical. Feel free to give us a ring. Your last chance to do so. 315-437-7644, the Massage Envy hotline located in Fayetteville and Clay. Well, with that, let's go right to the phone lines because we have a short line of callers here. We got Rob in Connecticut. Rob, how you doing? The floor is yours, my friend.
Hey, Giovanni, how's it going tonight?
It's going well. It would be going better if the Cuse had a win under their belt, but you know what? It's
Right.
the Wildcats a good spot, and we got a good crowd. How you doing?
Right. Yep. Well, I'm physically healthy. I don't know about the mental part. My dad doesn't even want to talk to me because I was so upset. But I want to say, if there's anything I'm an expert in, it's watching Syracuse play football.
Okay.
So, the thing I want to say is I predict we're going to lose out if we got to make a quarterback change immediately. What do you see? Do you see that happening? Because this guy, Ricky Collins, is a scrub. And I think he does not pass the eye test as a QB1 on an ACC football team that just lost 2 conference games in a row, and they weren't even close. So how can anybody make the argument to keep this guy in? Because, he deserves to ride the pine. What do you think on that one?
Rob, appreciate the call, man. Appreciate you being willing to let it all out there and air your grievances, and glad we could be the platform to let you do that. But I do have to say I disagree with you in this sense. I'm not saying the quarterback play has been good. I'm not saying that. I just don't think the grass is greener because of what else is there. Remember, this is a second-string quarterback. They went out and got another guy after the spring for a reason. Clearly, that's been made apparent. They weren't willing to say it at first, but that's been made apparent. Steve Angeli, a lot more polished than Ricky Collins, right? But I don't think the grass is necessarily greener in handing the keys to a true freshman. Now, some people could argue, well, how much worse could it get? I can hear you there. That's fair. But I don't know if it's worth destroying the young confidence of some guys that had some vibe coming in as recruits. Like, Fran doesn't go out and get guys to add to this football team that he doesn't believe in, right? These are Fran's additions. These are not like Dino Babers recruits in Luke Carney, right? And I'm specifically looking at Luke Carney because I do think he is that third guy. I know he has 1 snap for a touchdown in that Colgate game. I don't think you can put a lot of stock in that either, and I don't think anybody is. I just don't see how making a quarterback change is going to make it that much better. And the other thing I'll say to that is the fact that they're not helping Ricky. The defense is in the hundreds in almost every statistical ranking, and they're allowing on average 30 points a game. How can you possibly expect him to win you football games and be competitive in football games if every time the other team touches the ball, it feels like they're going to score? So I'm not saying the quarterback play's been good, But I don't think a quarterback change is going to do Syracuse any favors. I truly believe that Fran Brown, he's not like riding off into the sunset with Ricky and saying like, this ship goes down with Ricky. Ricky's my guy. Because that does happen some places. That's not what this is. If anything, then he would have started Ricky from the get-go instead of playing Steve. Like, he's not riding with Ricky. I think he truly believes, and this staff truly believes, that Ricky Collins gives them the best chance to win. Unfortunately, that might not mean the chance to win is very good of a chance. That's why they're 17.5-point underdogs. They covered. They didn't look good doing it. They backdoor covered at the end, but they covered. Vegas said they were going to lose by 17.5 points. So I just don't think that making a quarterback change is going to produce the results that you're looking for, which is a win. I think Ricky Collins still, unfortunately, gives them the best chance to go out there and win a football game. But, Rob, really appreciate the call. Hanging on to the phone lines, we got David Cook in Dallas. David, you're in Dallas. Appreciate you hopping on. The floor is yours, my friend.
I don't know if you've been watching quarterback play. I just left the game.
I
had to leave in the third quarter. From what I seen, that was some high school football. Ain't nobody paying attention. My nephew was a 5-star receiver from the SEC. He got 3-star receivers covering him from the ACC, and they can't get him the ball. I'm the reason he went to Texas, and I'm gonna get on the phone with his father, and we finna see what we can do. We can't let Ricky ruin our chances to get to the league. That boy is not ready for a number one spot. I've seen the practice tapes. My brother sent me the practice tapes, and I see what he do in practice. So football games, starters are built in practice, and that boy sucked in practice. So I'm looking at it. He's not supposed to be there. And maybe Luke Pointer ain't the answer, but I ain't seen a quarterback throw the football backwards since the 80s. And then he want to run to the coach and watch film. You need to go all the way back to high school and watch film with your high school coach, because that's what it looked like. What you got to say about that?
David, man, you let it all out there. I don't know if we've ever had a call of this magnitude, to be honest with you. I'm assuming Jonte Cook's uncle, obviously, since you mentioned Texas and everything, calling in. Listen, man, I'm not an expert on watching tape. I think the quarterback play under Ricky Collins has left a lot to be desired. I agree with you there. I would be curious to hear your thoughts on what it looked like with Steve Angeli before Ricky Collins became the quarterback, because remember, this was Steve Angeli's job before, and it felt like the offense was in a good spot considering Steve Angeli was literally leading the nation in passing through 4 weeks. I think Jonte Cook's a really good football player. Sounds like you want to inspire him to look elsewhere. As somebody who covers this team and believes in Fran Brown, I'd beg you not to do that, because I think with Steve Angeli throwing him the ball, or whoever Fran trusts, there's a path to success there. I think you saw last year what having a quarterback that leads the nation in passing can do for you as a wide receiver. There's nowhere else in the country where you have the opportunity to throw the ball your way more than at Syracuse. Syracuse would throw 50 to 60 times a game last year, and that was with Kyle McCord. But it was trending that way again this year with Jeff Nixon's offense with Steve Angeli as the quarterback. Unfortunately, I don't think Ricky Collins has the skill set to deliver on that front. I agree. He's staring down the first receiver he looks at. He doesn't look anywhere else. He's not making the reads. I get it. Now, I'm not going to give a full film breakdown because I don't believe I have the credentials to do that. That sounds like that's more up your alley. But what I will say is that I don't know there's anywhere else in the country, once Steve Angeli's back in the mix, because remember, he's got 2 years of eligibility left. I don't know if there's anywhere else in the country you'd want to be if you're a wide receiver, because Syracuse is going to go out there and throw the ball 60 times, and Jonte Cook's going to have the opportunity to touch the ball a lot. And if you don't think so, go ask Trevor Pena, who's playing at Penn State, who left Syracuse, and Jonte Cook's essentially playing his spot, similar-sized receiver, spending a lot of time in the slot, Jonte Cook this year is what Trevor Pena was for Syracuse last year, and Trevor's getting the ball less than half the amount that he was last year at Syracuse now that he's at Penn State, and they just got blown out by UCLA. So I don't know. I don't know how to answer your question. I would love Jonte Cook to be a part of this program. I had the opportunity to talk to your nephew in an interview a couple weeks ago. I thought he was a tremendous guy, knew a lot about football, seemed like he cared a lot about what was being built in Syracuse. But again, all of that was before Steve Angeli went down and Ricky Collins was taking snaps. But nevertheless, appreciate you calling in. Hope you guys have a safe trip back from Dallas, and pretty cool that you guys got to go root on the Cuse. Unfortunately, the turnout wasn't exactly what we were all looking for, right? So, wow. Folks, I don't know if we've ever had a call quite of that magnitude. That was wild. But thank you, David. Jordan, we got anybody else back there? Are we chilling? I literally have Jordan in my ear. We have Fran. Awesome. We got a soundbite from Fran Brown before we wrap up the show today. This is Fran Brown, and this audio is brought to us courtesy of the Syracuse Sports Network from Learfield.
Okay, guys, with Coach Brown just outside the locker room here. And, Coach, how do you manage this situation here? First two-game losing streak in your tenure, and you got to message the team.
Oh, no, we're still trying to build a culture, so just pushing at them, showing them different things. Got a new leader at the helm, so there's a lot of things that we got to get focused on and do very well from an offensive perspective, defensive perspective. But we just got to keep pushing, keep learning. We're a young football team, so when you got a young team, you got to expect some things like that to be able to happen.
It's another one where there was a big hole dug. Looked like you had an opportunity to take the lead there, turn it over on downs at the one. And how difficult is that? You're down early. That's kind of all the losses. Tennessee, Duke, and this one have been in that circumstance.
We just got to learn how to fight. I got to keep teaching the guys how to fight. I guess it's what we're doing in practice. I got to probably just make sure I evaluate that. I got to teach them better. They're doing it. They fighting their butts off, but I got to put them in better situations. But they're doing a good job. I just got to put them in better situations for them to be on top early.
What was the biggest issue in the short yardage? Had a hard time there.
Nothing, just a couple calls that I forced Jeff to call. Jeff wanted to do some other things, and I told him he should just run it that way and do those things. So just mistakes on myself.
You're quick to take the responsibility on this, which is your nature. What do you hope kind of comes from that? You talk about the mental toughness of the guys and the way they respond. That's how your season's going to be measured here, is how you respond from all this.
We're going to respond. I know that we will respond, but I'm not going to sit here and start to blame it on other people, right? I'm a man. I'm in charge of the football team. I'm the head football coach of the team. So any mistake, anything that goes wrong, I'm definitely going to, I'm to blame of that. I'm first and foremost. Yeah.
What's your evaluation of Ricky here? He showed some flashes there at the end, but it was a long time in coming.
He's up and down. It's just up and down. It's up and down. He's inconsistent right now, and you're hoping that he can become more consistent. You can see sometimes when he can do really well, and then you see sometimes when he doesn't. So he's up and down, but I got to keep working with him and keep getting him better.
You'll know you'll be asked this, but during the game, what's the process? You stuck with him and got back in the game. You've had that situation before, and I know you want to support the guy who's in the game. So how do you calculate that, and whether you think about going to a different guy?
No, I mean, just not worrying about that. At the moment, we're 3-3 right now, going into a bye week. So we just got to be able to come out of the bye week and get ready to be 1-0. We got a good home game at home versus Pitt, October the 18th. So that's what I'm looking for.
Pitt looked awesome today against BC. Are you excited here? This is a good time to have a bye, right? You're halfway through the regular season, and you could use some regrouping.
Whatever we got to do, we're going to do. I ain't really worrying about how Pitt look or whatever goes on with them. Really just worrying about us and the things that we need to do to make sure that we're able to go out and compete.
Last thing is, do you have a schedule in mind for the guys here? Is there time to breathe? You're right back at it. How do you work this next week?
I will get a little bit of a breather, but we also got to work to be able to fix some things up so we're ready when it's time to go out and compete against Pitt at home.
All right, sounds like you're already on it, Coach. Thanks for the candor, and best of luck, okay?
Appreciate it. Take care.
That's Orange head coach Fran Brown, guys. Back to you.
Once again, that audio brought to you by the Syracuse Sports Network from Learfield. Thanks to Matt Park and company for hooking us up with that. Yeah, I mean, you heard it all from Fran. You got to regroup, right? A lot of coach speak there. Kind of have to expect that, right, after a loss like that. Fran's always going to keep it real, but at the same time, like, they got to watch the tape. They got to regroup. There's only so much you can say immediately following a loss. Didn't completely deny the thought of having a different quarterback take snaps. Definitely didn't give it a ton of attention or the time of day necessarily, but didn't completely deny it. I think that was my biggest takeaway from a one-time through listen of that conversation with Matt Park. So, nevertheless, 31-18, the final score. Down in Dallas, Syracuse falls to SMU, drops back-to-back losses in a game, again, that you just kind of hammer home the point. It didn't feel like it was as close as the final score indicates. Never really felt like Syracuse was in it. Trailed 24-0 at one point in this game, 24-3 at the halftime break. And it took towards the very end of the game to even, put touchdowns on the board. So we got a lot of awesome callers today. Appreciate everybody chiming in. Thank you to those who hung out with us all day long here at the Wildcat. It was a fun afternoon, no question about it. Had a great crowd, not only for the pregame show, but to watch the entire game with our Labatt watch party, and then now our postgame coverage as well. So thank you to the Wildcat. Thank you to everybody behind the scenes that makes the magic happen. Seriously, show doesn't happen without them. Tim's been hanging out with me here all day long. We got Paul McCoy, Jordan Capozzi hanging out in the studio all day long, taking care of business. And again, doesn't happen without you guys, so I'm forever grateful. And thanks to you, Cuse fans, for hanging out with us. Unfortunately, the Orange, again, come up short in this one. But with that being said, 31-18, the final score. We got a full slate coming up this week. Orange Nation's going to be noon to 2 every single day. You got Drive Time with Tim Leonard from 5 to 6 o'clock every single day. You can find all of your unpacking of this and your bye-week blues right there. They'll have you covered, and we'll have you covered right here on Cuse Sports Talk all week long. For the guys I just mentioned, I'm Giovanni Heater saying so long and good night. We'll talk to you later on this week. 31-18, the final score from Dallas.
This